So now we have some Republicans who are calling for Mitch McConnell to step down. Senator Mike Lee had this to say. He said, "This is nothing personal against one individual in leadership. This is how we alienate voters. This is how we lose elections that should be won. If we keep doing things that end up enacting priorities for the Democrats, we're going to have brand confusion." Well, let's just break this statement down line for line and see just how ridiculous it is. He starts off by saying it's nothing personal against any individual in leadership. Well, Mitch McConnell has been a senator since I was 2 years old. Okay, he's been around a long time, and he knows how to play the game. More on that later. But he says this is how we alienate voters. No, I think the way that MAGA has alienated voters is by going out here and saying things like that they would like to have a national divorce, and that if a Democrat moves to a red state, they shouldn't be allowed to vote for 5 years. I think they've alienated voters by taking away women's rights. I think they have alienated voters by going against the gay and trans community and people of color. I think they have alienated voters by making life harder on anyone that disagrees with them. I think they've alienated voters with every bullshit culture war and boycott they could think of. So they're doing a great job of alienating voters with or without Mitch McConnell. But then he says, this is interesting, he says, this is how we lose elections that should be won. Well, they've lost every election since 2016. Donald Trump said they would get tired of winning. He said they would win so much they would get tired of it, and they keep talking about this big red wave that's supposed to hit, and it's not happening because the majority of Americans don't buy into MAGA's bullshit. And for whatever reason, they just keep hitching their wagons to Donald Trump, taking orders from him. He's a failed former president, and they're still trying to stop any bipartisan bill that comes up because they do not want people working together. And that's the next part of what he said. He said, if we keep doing things that end up enacting priorities for the Democrats, we're going to have brand confusion. So in other words, we can't work together ever. We can never reach across the aisle and work with Democrats. We always have to go against anything they say. He's telling you out loud that he's always going to be against anything that a Democrat says, and they have to do that because they would have brand confusion. So the idea of two parties working together and compromising and coming up with solutions to our problems, they're saying we can't have that because that might create brand confusion. But let's talk for a minute about Mitch McConnell. I was born in Tennessee, but I grew up in the state of Kentucky. I know just how bad Mitch McConnell has been for the state of Kentucky, for the Republican Party, and for America in general. I am in no way endorsing Mitch McConnell or saying anything nice about the guy. That's not where this is headed. But Mitch McConnell has been a senator my entire life. He knows the game and knows how to play cards better than anybody. Regardless of how you feel about Mitch McConnell, he is a masterful politician. He knows how to play the game. Not saying he's right. I'm not saying that he's a likable dude. You know, I traveled my part of the world for 25 years playing music. I drove every winding back road in Southeast Kentucky, and I would talk to people along the way. I never heard one person say, Mitch is our guy. I never saw a bunch of signs out in people's yard that said Mitch McConnell. I didn't see Mitch flags flying off people's houses. None of that. And if you talk to most of them in Kentucky about Mitch McConnell, they would admit out loud that he's a crook. But they bought into the narrative that anything is better than a Democrat, and that's why they continue to vote against their own interests. But despite how you may feel about him, despite all the bad things he's done and all the things he's not done and all the broken promises he's made, and I could sit here and do a whole video series on that, he still knows how to play the game better than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a cult of personality who can get that crowd worked into a frenzy. But when it comes time to work within the confines of government and how it all works, Donald Trump is a lost ball in high weeds. Bill Barr said when he's in there trying to run things, it's absolute chaos because he doesn't understand how the system works. McConnell does. Love him or hate him, the guy knows exactly how the system works. And yeah, he's a weasel. Yeah, he's all of those things. He is your typical chicken shit bad guy wrestler that you just can't stand. But this is one of those situations where we have the two bullies now at odds. And you're sitting back like when you were in school watching the two schoolyard bullies go at it. It's going to be interesting. In my mind, it's a win-win for us either way they go. If they succeed and they cause Mitch McConnell to step down, if they were to succeed in that, they're not going to win any more general elections. They're done after that. The only hope they have is they can't win with Trump, and they really can't win without him. But they sure as hell can't win if you take away whatever voices of reason is still left in the Republican Party. If you take away those people, and how is that going to appeal to independent voters? MAGA Republicans do not appeal. They say so. We don't want to. We don't want brand confusion. We want this. That's not going to appeal to independent voters, and Donald Trump can't win without them. He has to have those independent voters. So if they succeed and they cause McConnell to step down, we win. And if Donald Trump, or if Mitch McConnell lays a smackdown on Donald Trump, we win. Either way he slices it, we're going to just sit back and watch as the Republican Party just crumbles in chaos. Donald Trump has destroyed the Republican Party. The Republican Party of our grandfathers does no longer exist. Mitch McConnell is that last holdout, that last guy that's holding out. And he's not going to make it much longer anyway. The guy's in bad health. He freezes up at press conferences. He's definitely slipping. I don't like the guy. I'm not a fan. But Mitch McConnell, on his absolute worst day, froze solid, still knows how to play the game better than Donald Trump. And so we're seeing the end. I mean, the Senate is the only place Republicans had left that wasn't just in total chaos. Look at what's happening in the House. Look how they've destroyed the House. Look what a mess they've turned that into. They want to do that to the Senate, and then they want to put a big cherry on top and make Donald Trump president again. And that's how they want our country to run, and they don't want brand confusion. They want everybody to know what kind of fascist dictator assholes they want to be. That's where we're at. I'm going to sit back on the ropes and watch two. If I made a top 5 list of my most hated politicians of all time, Donald Trump is number 1 and McConnell's number 2 right behind him. So this is that moment where you just get to sit back and watch them meet each other, and it's going to be glorious to watch.